Good evening, students. My name is Sachin Prakash, and today we are going to discuss the final lecture of metallurgy. Okay, today we are going to discuss the oxidative refining techniques, and then we will be going to discuss vapor phase refining techniques, and then will be discussing the metallurgy of zinc and lead. So, with this today's lecture, the whole course will be finished. Okay, so let us just start with today's lecture. Okay, so we will be starting with the oxidative refining techniques. Okay, so oxidative refining techniques basically rely on, oxidation through heat. So pyro means heat. Okay, so basically the molten impure metal is oxidized. So in such a way that the impurities which are supposedly more having more affinity towards oxygen are getting converted into oxides. Okay. So oxidative refining techniques is generally used for less electropositive metals, which have lower oxygen affinity. So it is used for lead, silver, gold, etc., etc. Okay. So let us start with the first one. First one is Pauling. Okay. So Pauling is generally used for copper and tin. Okay, which contain metal oxides like Cu2O and SnO as impurities. Okay, so what we do in Pauling is that we take the molten metal and we put it in a what is a log, and then what we are going to do is that we use green logs. Okay, to just stir the molten metal. Okay, so what will happen is that the molten metal, and we are also adding, powdered coke on the surface. So powdered coke, okay, and also blowing hot air into the, okay, to the surface. Okay, so what will happen is that the molten metal, okay, in the presence of powdered coke, impurities, okay, what will happen is that two things will happen. For impurities, the metal oxides will be, reduced by carbon, okay, to produce M plus Cu, okay. But the impurities, like carbon or sulfur or arsenic, are converted into the oxides, which are volatile, and they go out to the green logs. So you see the oxides will be going like this, volatile oxides. So you see, this is these volatile oxides will be escaping through the hollow pores through which we are stirring the whole molten metal solution. Okay, so ultimately you'll be getting pure metal. Okay, while the oxide should be escaping through the hollow pores. Okay, since we are using what we call as wooden, green wooden poles for this mixture, for this process. The process is known as polling. Okay. The polling is used mainly for copper and tin. Okay. This you should keep in mind. Okay. So after this, the next one is your cupellation. A cupellation is basically a process which is used for removing lead from silver. Lead is the impurity here, and silver is a metal. So you see, we have already discussed that lead can be removed from silver. Okay, there are two processes. The Parkes process is there. Okay, and Pattinson process is also there. Both are aimed at removing, separating lead and silver. Okay. So cupellation is again an old technique. Okay, what we used to do is that we used to take a bowl sort of thing, which is known as cupel. Okay, and in this we were keeping the molten metal. Okay, so what? And then we were like passing air through it. Okay, so what will happen is that molten ages plus impurities are there. Okay, so what will happen is that when you are passing oxygen through the molten metal, what will happen is that lead will be converted into PbO, and carbon, if it is there as an impurity, it will be converted into CO2. Okay, so both impurities are oxidized, and these are volatile gases, so they will be escaping. Okay, the volatile gases will be escaped. Okay, and we are left with pure metal in the cupel. Okay, so this is the process of cupellation. Okay, so after this, the next is bessemerization. Third of fourth. That's third. See, bessemerization is a process which we have also used in basically it is a process which is carried out in Bessemer converter, which is a apparatus, okay, in which we have facility of blowing hot air to the middle of the solution. Okay, so bessemerization is also used for refining iron. Okay, and it is basically used to convert pig iron, okay, to wrought iron. It is the purest form of iron. So the impurities which are present in the pig iron, it is like carbon, sulfur, phosphorus. Okay, when you are putting it through Bessemer converter, so we are using molten form, okay, and we are also supplying oxygen, okay, blast of compressed air. And what will happen that all these oxygen will oxidize the impurities like C, S, phosphorus, okay, even arsenic is there, to their respective volatile oxides, and this will escape. Okay, so what we are left with is the wrought iron. Okay, so this is the Bessemerization technique. Okay, next is the vapor phase refining technique. Vapor phase refining techniques. Okay, so the main principle behind the vapor phase refining is that the metal which we want in the pure form has a tendency to form a volatile compound with some reagent. Okay, and that volatile compound, only metal will react, the impurities won't react. So you see the principle is that crude metal will be, forming a volatile compound. Okay, and impurities do not react with the to form volatile compounds. So in that case, the volatile compound can be collected somewhere else, and then on decomposition at higher temperature, we will be getting pure metal. So only point which is important here is that the decomposition temperature should be less than the melting point of the metal. Okay, so there are like three processes which are important here. Okay, first is the Mons process. Second is the Cross process. And third is the Van Arkel method. Okay, Van Arkel method we discussed in yesterday's class only. Okay, so we will be mainly discussing about Mons process and Cross process. So the Mons process is used for nickel, Cross process is used for titanium, and Van Arkel method is used for zirconium as well as titanium. It is an ultra purification technique. Okay, so what happens in Mons process? What happens in Mons process is we have crude nickel, okay, and we are treating it with carbon monoxide, okay, at a temperature of 50 to 80 degrees centigrade. So what will happen that nickel will form a volatile, complex NiCO whole for nickel tetracarbonate. Now it is volatile. So it decomposes at a higher temperature like 180 to 200 degrees centigrade, and it gives nickel plus CO. So this time we'll be getting pure nickel here. Okay. So this nickel can be collected, in the shape of spherical balls, okay, which can be used for further processing. Okay. So this is your Mons process. Next is Cross process. In Cross process, we use a highly electropositive metal for reduction. Okay. So basically, Cross process is reduction of metal halides by active metals like sodium, calcium, magnesium, etc. Okay, and this is generally used for metals which have very high oxygen affinity. Okay, So you like titrate, like so you see, suppose I'm having TiCl4, okay, and I convert it into oxide, titanium oxide or titanium dioxide. Okay, then titanium is having very high like oxygen affinity. It's very difficult to reduce the oxide of titanium. So what we do is we reduce the halide of titanium by using highly electropositive metals. Okay, so like TiCl4, if I react with magnesium, okay, in the inert argon atmosphere, we'll be getting Ti plus MgCl2. Okay, so titanium here is a very precious metal. Okay, so it is the product here. So you see, but since we are using magnesium here, which itself you have to prepare somehow. This process is costly process. Okay, so that is why it increases the cost of titanium. Okay, so this is all in refining techniques. Okay, Van Arkel method we discussed yesterday only. Okay, so this is it in the refining. Let's next is the extraction of zinc. Extraction of zinc from its source. So you see, zinc is mainly having three ores: zinc blend with ZnS, zinc oxide, zincite, and zinc carbonate, ZnCO3. Okay, but zinc sulfide is the main ore. Okay, it will be in form of woodsite as well as sphalerite. Okay, one is having a what is a SCP structure, another is having a CCP structure. Okay, woodsite is SCP. Okay, so you see these things we'll be discussing in a solid state. Okay, so you see when you're talking about concentration of ore, okay, we use a froth flotation process because zinc sulfide is a sulfide ore. And generally, zinc sulfide is having PbSs impurity. Okay, so this we use the froth flotation technique, but you see both PbS and zinc sulfide are soluble in are sticking to the froth. Okay, now PbS is having higher sticking tendency than ZnS. So we do the froth flotation technique in two steps. Okay, first we have a low pine oil concentration. At a lower pine oil concentration, only PbS will be selectively, like sticking to the froth because it is having higher sticking tendency. So the earlier froth which is connected, collected is mainly containing PbS. Okay, and then at higher pine oil concentration, zinc sulfide will start floating on the top. Okay. Now, to make this process more efficient, we use what we call as suppressor. Okay. So what will happen is that we are having zinc sulfide and we add NaCN. We have already discussed this. We will be getting ZnCN whole 4, 2 minus. Okay. Which is a highly soluble complex. Na plus. And this zinc complex will be highly water soluble. So only PbS will be sticking to the froth. Okay, this actually increases the efficiency of the method. Okay, so and once we have removed all the PbS, we can activate it by using copper sulfate. So that will again give me zinc sulfide plus CuCN whole 4. This zinc sulfide will now, stick to the froth and we can, like, so you see addition of depressants like NaCN leads to preferential froth formation with PVS. Okay, so this is the way of separating zinc sulfide and lead sulfide. Okay, so after once we have separated the zinc sulfide and we have got the concentrated ore, the next step is roasting. So roasting is done at a temperature of above 850 degrees centigrade under controlled air supply. Okay, so what will happen in this case is that zinc sulfide will react with oxygen to give zinc oxide and SO2. Okay, so you are getting the oxide of zinc here. Okay, which is my prime aim because we are again going for carbon reduction here. Okay, but there are side reactions like zinc sulfide plus O2 will give zinc sulfate. Okay, especially if the temperature is less than 850. So we try to maintain temperature above 850 degrees centigrade so that zinc sulfate formation doesn't take place. Okay. After this, the next step is the smelting. So smelting is basically reduction by carbon in presence of heat. So it is a pyrometallurgical process. Okay. So you see, it is done in presence of excess of coke. Okay, in order to avoid CO2 formation. Okay, if the coke is in limited quantity, then it will combine with air to give CO2. Okay, it ceases to act as a reducing it at a temperature of 1300 to 1400 degrees centigrade. You see, in this case, zinc is having a lower boiling point. It is vaporized and it is collected separately. Okay, so what are the reactions taking place? Zinc oxide will react with carbon and you will be getting zinc plus carbon monoxide. Okay. Zinc sulfate, which was earlier present, will be reacting with carbon to give zinc plus CO plus SO2. Okay. Now, apart from this, you can also have side reactions like zinc oxide plus carbon gives zinc plus CO2. Okay. But this CO2 will be converted to carbon monoxide by using by the excess of carbon which we have put. Okay. Now you see why carbon is the reducing agent here, because we are using higher temperatures. I have told you in Illingworth diagrams as well as metallurgy of iron that at lower temperatures means T below 700 degrees centigrade, carbon monoxide is a good reducing agent. At higher temperatures, T less greater than like 700 degrees centigrade. Okay, I think it is 710. Okay, that is what the Ellingham diagram. But we don't take the risk. We increase the temperature even more. Carbon going to CO is a better reducing agent. Okay. So this is the smelting process, and it will give us the crude zinc. Now, once we have gotten crude zinc, then we go for electrolytic refining of zinc. Okay, so you see our setup is the usual one. We take impure zinc as anode, we take a pure strip as cathode. Okay, sorry, in this case we'll be taking aluminum strip instead of zinc. Okay, because pure zinc has a tendency to react with dilute H2SO4. Okay, which we are using as electrolyte. Okay, we are using dilute H2SO4 plus ZnSO4 as electrolyte here. Okay, and so this is anode, which is impure zinc. Okay, aluminum strip is the cathode. Okay, aluminum will not react with dilute H2SO4 because of passivization. Okay, it is having a protective Al2O3 layer. Okay, so you see, what will be happening is that zinc 2 plus will be reacting with at cathode. Zinc 2 plus will be converting into zinc. Okay, and it will be deposited here like this, and this will be, gradually eroding away. At anode, zinc will be doing zinc 2 plus plus 2 electron. Okay. Now you see what is why we are using dilute H2SO4 is to increase the reduction over potential of H2O. Okay. You see, generally H2O will be having a higher tendency to get like reduced at what you say at cathode. So in order to prevent that, we increase the activation potential which is required for H2O to get reduced at cathode. So H2O is not reduced here, okay, and zinc 2 plus is reduced preferably, okay. So this is how we'll be doing the electrolytic refining of crude zinc, okay. And after this, so with this, we are done with the refining of crude zinc and metallurgy of zinc, okay. So after this, the next one is extraction of lead. So lead, the principal ore is PBS, galena, okay, and it will be containing SiO2, ZnS as impurity, okay. So basically, the ores of lead and zinc, both are sulfide ores and both are generally found, very close to each other. So you see, basically we can say that one is an impurity for other and vice versa. Okay. But both are sulfide ores, so we will be using the concentration of ore as cloth flotation process. So the thing which we earlier discussed in case of zinc sulfide. So PBS can be, separated by, at lower point concentration. Okay. Where zinc sulfide can be separated at higher final concentration. Okay. And if you are using depressant, PBS will not react with Cn minus, where zinc sulfide will react with Cn minus to form soluble complex. So it is so PBS can be selectively, sticking to the front. So once we get the concentrated ore, okay, then we go for partial roasting. So PBS reacts with O2 and it will be giving PBO plus SO2. Okay. There will be certain side reactions also, PBS plus O2 giving PbSO4. And some of the PBO will react with SiO2, which is an impurity, to give lead silicate. Okay. Now, in order to stop the side reactions, we use lime. Okay, which will be acting as a flux also. So it will combine with SiO2 to give calcium silicate, which will be slag. Okay, and it will also have negative catalyst for formation of PbSO4 and PbSiO3. Okay, so this is the case here. Okay, now you see we are talking about reduction of oxide. Then it depends upon the impurity content. Okay, so you see when we are having carbon reduction, okay, we will be using carbon reduction technique when the impurity content is high. Okay, and we can also use a self reduction technique that is mainly used when my impurity content is low. Okay, so let us discuss both the reduction techniques one by one. So carbon reduction, which is also known as smelting, okay, it is done after the partial roasting step. Okay, so here we will be using carbon as well as CO as a reducing agent. So C plus O2 giving CO2 and CO2 plus CO2 giving CO. Okay, so in the lower zones of furnace, the carbon will be the reducing agent, and higher zones, okay, CO will be the reducing agent because higher zones have lower temperature. So what will happen is that PBO will react with C and CO, okay, and it will be giving PB plus CO2, okay, in the second case, and PB plus CO in the first case. See, after that, the lead sulfate which we have formed as a side reaction will also be converted into PBS plus CO. Now you see this PBS will react with PBO to give PB plus SO2, okay. So a bit of self-reduction will be taking place here as well as here. Okay. So these are the reactions which will be taking place in the smelting step. Okay. Apart from that, you also have slag formation reaction. Calcium oxide will react with SiO2 to give CaSiO3. Fe2O3, which is present as an impurity, will be reacting with CO to give FeO and CO2. And this FeO reacts with SiO2 to give FeSiO3. Okay, so all these are slag. This and this are the components of slag. Okay, and they are like lighter uh, lighter than the ore, and they will be semi-separated. Okay. Now, last one is your self-reduction process. Okay, it is mainly used in the impurity content test law. So PBS will react with PBO to give PB plus SO2. So what you'll be getting is, due to the SO2 which is escaping the lead, you'll be getting what we call as soft lead. Okay, it will be having, it will be highly porous because of the escaping gases. Okay, similarly PBS plus PBSO4 will give PB plus SO2. Now see, these are side reactions, in case of carbon reduction, but these are the main reactions when we talk about the self-reduction process. Okay. And so after this, the last step is refining of lead. So crude lead, which is also known as soft lead, has silver and gold as impurities. So you see, even though these are impurities, these are like valuable impurities for us. So we go for a process known as Parkes process. Okay, Parkes process is basically desilverization of soft lead. So what we do is that we take a container and we take mix molten lead with molten zinc. See, molten lead and molten zinc will form two different layers. Why? Because they are totally immiscible. Suppose this is a layer of molten zinc, because it will be lighter, and lead is a heavier metal, so it will be forming this type of layer. Molten lead. Okay, so molten lead and molten zinc. Okay, now you see, if I'm talking about the impurities, okay, then you see it is having like Ag and EUS impurities. Okay, so you see, the principle is that it involves removal of silver from lead by the process of liquid-liquid extraction. Okay, so basically soft lead is melted along with the zinc. Okay, and molten zinc and lead will be forming two separate layers. Okay, because they are totally immiscible with each other. Okay. Now you see the solubility of silver and gold is like 3,000 times more in molten zinc compared to molten lead. So what will happen is that they will try to migrate to the molten zinc phase. Okay. So once they like migrate towards molten zinc phase, lead is desilverized. Okay. So once it is done, you can open a tap here and you can get like molten PB desilverized. While you can separate molten zinc plus PB. Okay. Now this molten zinc silver alloy on heating zinc will be vaporizing easily because it is a low boiling point. So we can use distillation to separate zinc from gold and silver, and this is how we'll be removing silver from lead. Okay, so with this and after this, this molten lead can be subjected to electrolytic refining. That is a very common technique for all the metals, and you'll be getting pure lead. Okay. this is the Parkes process for desilverization of lead. Okay. So with this, I believe that we have finished the what you say, metallurgy of lead. Okay. Aluminum we have already discussed. Magnesium and so sodium also we have already discussed. So with this, we have finished the what you say the extraction of most of the metals which are there in the syllabus. Okay, we have discussed the general processes. We have discussed the specific purification techniques. Okay, so as a whole, we have almost covered all the major points which are there in this chapter. Now you see, metallurgy is not a very small topic, Mr. But the scope is limited in the domain of IIT JEE syllabus. Okay, so we will be just focusing on that much point. As said, there is too much information is there. There are a lot of technicalities which are there in, practical technicalities which are there. But then those things we are not supposed to, going that much into that much details. Okay, we'll be only focusing on the general principles. We will be focusing on what are the techniques which we are using. Okay, once you become a metallurgical engineer, you will be aware of all the complexities which are there in, actual execution of these reactions and processes. Okay, so with this, we'll be finishing today's class. Okay, and with this, our metallurgy topic is also done. Okay, and now we'll be, looking towards the next week's syllabus. Okay, so I would request every one of you to, go through the, exercises. Now you can do all the questions of lecture sheet as well as the practice sheet, and please try to, finish your practice, properly. Okay, because in practice you will be, seeing those new points which, are information based. Not everything can be covered in the syllabus, in the lecture part, because, then the lectures will be too humongous. So once the whole idea of lecture is to make you 80% aware about the, different facts, information, and concepts. 20% so you will be learning through the problem solving itself. Okay, so I hope that you people are doing your practice very sincerely, and I am also hoping that you'll be doing better in this week's test. Okay, so with this, I'm ending today's lecture. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that we discuss some pretty important points today. Okay, so with this, I'm ending today's lecture. Okay, I'm hoping that you people are doing good at home. Okay, and stay home, stay safe. Thank you.